Brando Moreno, cry baby. It's cry baby, motherfucker. Bitch.
What?
This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight I'll be going over UFC 283, straight out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. What is it? Texeira versus Hill, and Figueiredo versus Moreno 4. I'm excited to go back to Brazil for a couple of reasons, because not only is it going to be the first time we're going back to Brazil since the pandemic started, the last card I believe was Kevin Lee was still in the organization, where he got submitted by Charles Oliveira when Charles was still like considered an underdog against Kevin Lee. Imagine that. And we're coming back to Rio de Janeiro, and shit, we're going to be having a new UFC lightweight champion, or light heavyweight champion, that is. And I'm interested in this particular bout because we've got one guy who's got a chance to become light heavyweight champion out of what I consider circumstance, based off of what happened with the previous bout with Jan and Ankalaev. And we've got Texeira, a guy who didn't get his official rematch against the, I guess, then champion, who had to then relinquish the bout in Jiri. So we've got Texeira getting a second chance, and we've got Jamahal Hill getting a shot at the title that, I'll be honest, I don't think it was warranted quite yet after beating Maheta Santos, but I'm very excited for this entire card. We've got a couple things to go over first because it's in Brazil. One thing to keep in mind are the Brazilian fucking judges. That's the other thing I'm excited about, because with these Brazilian judges, it's going to take a lot of the heat away from the American judges. So at least we'll have that. At least our judges suck, but at least they're not biased, is what I'm trying to get at. But let's get started with the first fight of the night. And this is taking place at, what weight are you, baby? This is taking place at bantamweight. We've got the newcomer, Daniel Marcos versus Stamann Oliveira. And Stamann is making his, I guess, sophomore debut in the UFC. He had a bout against Tony Gravely, didn't go his way. There were some things about Stamann that I really liked overall, but there are things that I don't like about the guy. But we'll get into that later. I want to talk about Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos making his UFC debut officially. First fight in the UFC, he fought in the Contender Series, where he looked pretty good. He hadn't fought in about 2 or 3 years prior to that fight against, what was the kid's name? Brandon Lewis. Brandon Lewis, by the way, very tough. He took a pretty bad beating. His legs got beat up, and I like the kid. I was kind of hoping they would give him another shot. Hopefully we see him again next year, or I guess this year, in the Contender Series, because that kid took an ass whooping. About Daniel Marcos, I like that he's a striker. He's a pretty competent striker. He doesn't put himself out of place. Very good 1-2s, good low calf kicks. That's what really hurt Lewis in that fight. But currently he's listed as a plus 160 underdog. Comeback on Oliveira is minus 190. The interesting part of this is the height and reach from Marcos, because they're both primarily strikers. I want to get into something about Oliveira. Oliveira is the shorter guy. He's 5'4". He's got a about 1 inch reach disadvantage. Marcos is going to be the taller guy, 5'7", 1 inch reach advantage. And their styles are definitely apparent based off of their stances. Marcos more of a boxer. He uses the kicks to set up the hands, and vice versa. But Stamann Oliveira more of a Muay Thai guy. And it's very apparent the moment you see his stance. And first thing that fucking triggered my memory was way back in the day. Like, I was trying to teach one of my friends, like, hey, dude, like, if you ever get into a fight, even though you don't know what the fuck you're doing, just get in that Muay Thai stance, and maybe they'll see that shit and be like, I don't want to fuck with this guy. Stamann Oliveira has a very apparent Muay Thai stance, right? He's bouncing that leg. It's like he wants you to know that he trains Muay Thai, which I thought was funny. What I don't like about Stamann Oliveira is that he takes unnecessary risks in the cage. Like, I do like that he's got a very good guillotine, right? He's got a lot of wins by guillotine. He's got very good cardio, but he often throws unnecessary spinning techniques. Like, he doesn't have to complete these things. Like, don't spin, just be very technical. He goes for wild, like, flying knees. Marcos, on the other hand, he's very reserved, more of a boxing-oriented style. He more of a meat and potatoes type of thing. You'll see him kind of throw like jump knees and whatnot, but nothing too crazy. And I do think this is a very close 50-50 matchup. I think Oliveira does have, I don't want to say the momentum on his side, but he's fought in the UFC. He's gotten rid of the jitters, but he is fighting in Brazil. with those jitters, the opening fight, the crowd going loud, I think that might potentially hurt him or really ramp him up. Taking that environment away, because it's a 50-50 matchup between these two strikers, I would give the overall grappling advantage to Oliveira, although Marcos does have decent enough takedown defense. What concerns me completely about, say, if I go with the dog, is that if Marcos tends to slow down, if he slows down in the third round, I do know Oliveira will have that cardio and that gas tank to push forward in that third. He did it against Gravely. He did it in his Contender Series fight himself. It's just that what I don't like about Oliveira outweighs what I do like about him. And I do think I want to take a shot on the dog here on Marcos. I think if he maintains a very measured approach, attacks the legs, he uses his hands well, avoids takedowns, I don't think he's going to shoot for any takedowns himself. He doesn't want to get caught in a guillotine. I think he can win this fight on points, if not potentially get a finish of Oliveira. Oliveira's never been finished by strikes. Neither of these guys have. I do think that Marcos has a really good shot of winning. Biggest concern, though, the judges, if, say, Oliveira throws a flying knee that doesn't even come close to touching the guy, they might automatically 10-9 that motherfucker in those first 2 rounds. So I would hate to see that. I'm going to go with Marcos on this one just because, again, very basic guy. He's meat and potatoes kind of guy. He's very basic, but those basics and those fundamentals, I think, can win him this fight against Oliveira. Oliveira will probably come out hard in the third round if he loses the first 2. Keep in mind, but at plus 160, I'm willing to take a shot on Marcos, the unproven debutant. So I'll go with Marcos to win this one. I'm going to say by a decision. I think Oliveira's pretty damn tough. It's just so I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to try to spin or something, and there can be an opening there for Marcos to just catch him with a flush, like straight right hand. That's what concerns me about, say, going the over on this one, but I'm going to go with Marcos by decision. Next bout, we've got Cody Stamann taking on a newcomer as well, Luan Lacerda, taking place at bantamweight as well. The odds have it heavily in favor of Cody Stamann, minus 330. Come back on the newcomer Lacerda. He is a plus 260. To break this one down very quickly, Lacerda, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's pretty good on the ground, but his wrestling's not that great. His striking's not that great, even though he does train with Jose Aldo. I know Jose Aldo's been working on his boxing with Lacerda, and he's training at Nova Unao. What I don't like about Lacerda is that he is essentially jiu-jitsu or bust. Like, I don't think he can stand with Cody Stamann. Biggest concern about taking Cody Stamann at those odds is that if he does get caught in a guillotine, or if he gets caught in a submission or a rear naked choke, or if he gets taken down somehow, he makes a mistake. I think Cody should take this one. I've heard interviews of him being like really amped up to win. He thinks he can finish this fight in the first 2 rounds, and I think he can as well if he really puts it on Lacerda. If he pushes a heavy pace, stuffs the takedowns, I don't think Lacerda is going to be able to take down Cody Stamann. And if Cody Stamann having that confidence to not get taken down as he's throwing strikes, I think he's going to be able to land pretty flush to the body. Like, Stamann's hands aren't the greatest, but he does have enough power. He doesn't necessarily have enough power to knock out like good competition, but this Lacerda, although he's 12-1, I think that deficiency on the feet is going to, say, cause him to take a knee. I think if Stamann lands like on the solar plexus just really cleanly, I think he can make Lacerda take a knee and then just call it a day and just be happy that he made it to the UFC. It's not a play for me on either guy. I don't think it's worth it. I don't want to take Lacerda knowing that he only has to get a submission, which I think he can get. If Cody Stamann makes a mistake, I don't think Cody's here to make a mistake. I think he's here to beat the crap out of Lacerda. Like, I've heard his interviews. He's like, yeah, I want better competition. Like, I'm just taking whatever I can get to just stay active. And I'm like, all right, cool. Beat his ass and we'll see. But I'll go with Cody Stamann by second round TKO. But we'll see, man. Like, I'll be terrified if I had a ticket with Cody Stamann in a parlay and he gasses out midway through trying to finish this guy and he can't do it. And then Lacerda just happens to get a sloppy takedown, gets on top and like gets him in something. So I'll stay away, but I got Stamann by second round TKO. Next bout, what a shit show between these two ladies. Josiane Nunes versus Zara Farin. Josiane Nunes is a minus 450. No way in hell she should be that high. especially with that height and reach disadvantage he's going to have in this fight. Come back on Farin plus 350. To me, Zareen might be like I have to play this shit. I absolutely have to play it, knowing damn well that she can get knocked out at any point in this fight. I just feel like I cannot say no to that, man. Plus 350. Let me see if I can get better odds on her. It's just like after watching tape, like I'm gonna run through this one, give you my thoughts on it, but those odds are just so juicy, man. Plus 420. Why not, right? Josiane Nunes, I really like Josiane, but this is at featherweight. She is 5'2", 67-inch reach. She's very aggressive. She cuts distance down very quickly. She throws a Superman punch to kind of like shorten the distance and just start swinging heavy. The problem, though, is that Zara Farin, she's a very tall featherweight. She is an actual featherweight. She's fought at featherweight against actual featherweights. Josiane Nunes fought at featherweight her last fight against that bum Ramona Pascal, and she did have a little bit of trouble in that fight. Pascal was finding openings in the clinched bodies or knees to the body, and yeah, Josiane was able to kind of get it to the ground, knock her down, crack her with that power. But when it comes to this, like I know Zara Farin sucks. Like there's no redeeming qualities about her other than the fact that she is 5'8". I actually think she might be taller than that. I'm pretty sure I've seen her as tall as like 5'10" in certain like tail of the tapes and her previous tape that I've seen. Like even in Brazil, I think I saw where she was a little higher listed, but she's going to have a reach advantage, height advantage, weight advantage because she is a more suited featherweight. She's training with the Figueiredo brothers. It's just like, do I think she can realistically win this fight? Probably on points, or if she can get a head kick on Josiane Nunes, it's a very good possibility, although a slight one. I do like Nunes though more so because she has more redeeming qualities, even with those shortcomings, than Zara Farin has. Period. Like she's a bum for real. But with that bumminess comes that unexpected nature of the game, where like yeah, she lost to two, I guess, title contenders in that weight class in Felicia Spencer and that OnlyFans model, which I think she's doing OnlyFans, Megan Anderson. I guess that's something. But Josiane Nunes, I think she eventually does find the chin, or she does enough. Say she doesn't crack Farin, which I don't know if she's been finished herself with strikes. I think it's mostly been like getting taken down where she got finished with strikes. Josiane Nunes, it would not be wise for her to try to go for a takedown against his big bitch. But for me, I think Nunes, she carries a lot of power. The way she cuts off the cage, she's very heavy with the pressure. I think her cardio is going to be good at this weight class as well. Doesn't have to cut. And I think hopefully she catches Farin and cashes that minus 450 ticket that someone's going to have out there. I think the better play would be the doesn't go the distance prop. But damn it, if I've been in the scary end of Josiane Nunes props where I took her by knockout against Ramona Pascal. And I think if it was any other referee other than Mark Smith, they would have called it. But Mark Smith is like, no. Johnny's got money on it. Go fuck him. But I'll go with Nunes by second round TKO. Not confident in that just because, again, Farin is a different matchup, man. Like, I don't care how good you are compared to, like, this bum of Farin. At a certain level, like just being bigger and stronger might be the only attribute you need to win a fight. Like I think Farin, if she has a good proper game plan, can win this fight. Those odds at minus 450 is just too much, man. Like when we see the face-offs, we might see the true height of Farin. Maybe I'll get a little bit more confident in Josiane Nunes, but right now, fuck no. I'm not touching it. I might actually take a shot on Farin though. We'll see. All right, next bout taking place at welterweight, we've got Warlley Alves versus Danish Dynamite, Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby, if you want something sus, go check out his Instagram. Like, the fuck is this guy up to? But currently the odds, they have changed. Minus 115 for Alves, come back on Dalby is minus 105. With this particular bout, I think Dalby opened up as a favorite, which gave me the opportunity to bet Warlley Alves as a dog. I didn't take the shot because I'm an idiot. I was at the casino and I could have put money on Alves as a dog, but I didn't take it. I think this will be a pretty close fight, at least on paper, but there's a particular aspect about this fight that I think is going to be beneficial for Alves. And that would be the judges. If this happens to go to a decision, I think Alves has it. Like, regardless of what happens, Alves is very aggressive. He's Muay Thai champion from Brazil. Dalby, although he's got a pretty interesting style himself, like he bounces up and down. He can be aggressive himself sometimes. Like, he was pretty aggressive against Tim Means, more so because he had to cut off that distance. But Dalby, as of late, he's a good staller. He can push you up against the cage, eat away minutes if he takes you down. He's got decent enough jiu-jitsu and top control to really eat away at those minutes. So the judges really have to give it to him. But if Alves is on the feet, if he's going forward, he's being aggressive, I think he's got a really good shot to either knock out Dalby or just win on points. The issue here is that if, say, Alves, for whatever reason, isn't up to wanting to fight that night, Alves is one of these guys that, like, if he's out there and he's ready and he's out there to perform, he'll knock out a guy like Munir Lazzez with a body kick. Other times he'll kind of be a little lackadaisical and he gets knocked out by Jeremiah Wells. But, like, I'm not taking too much away from Alves in that fight. Jeremiah Wells went in there to be undeniable, and he proved it. Like, he just kind of caught him off guard. He was really fast. He cracked him. He caught him. In this particular fight, Dalby isn't that kind of guy, and I think Alves will be that guy in this fight. He'll move forward. He'll try to please the Brazilian fans. He's going to throw a lot of loud kicks to the body, and if he doesn't get Dalby out there, I really do think he gets the decision. So I'm going to go with Alves because I think he wants to get that finish in Brazil. I'm going to take him by second round TKO. Dalby's been cracked before. He's not necessarily been fighting the best competition. He's going to be, he's 38 now. He's fighting a 32-year-old in Alves, which is crazy because Alves has been in the game for a while. And to think that this fucker's was in his 20s when he was in the UFC choking out Colby Covington is ridiculous, but I'll go with Alves second round TKO. Looking at his record, it's a spotty, like, win-loss. He's due for a win here. I'll go with Alves by TKO second round. Ooh, boy, this fucking fight. Next bout at lightweight, Terrence T-Rex McKinney versus Ismael Maheta Bonfim, and the odds currently have it in favor of McKinney minus 120. Come back on Bonfim, the lesser Bonfim, I suppose, plus 100. I hate this fight for betting wise if you're picking a guy. Like, if you go with McKinney, there's downsides to this dude. If you go with Bonfim, there's downsides to the fact that he's fighting McKinney. McKinney is a wrecking ball, man. Like, he hit Drew Dober, a guy who's never been cracked like that before, and, like, stumbled. Like, he made me think that maybe Drew Dober's chin was done. He hit that motherfucker hard multiple times, and he couldn't get him out there. So that was his second to last fight, and he ended up losing that one because he kind of gassed himself out. And shit, when you're fighting Drew Dober a little gassed, it's not a good sign, man. Like, he's going to wreck you, which he did. Terrence McKinney is just like a ball of energy, man. It's almost as if the high that he didn't get after he nearly died from all those drugs, it just comes back to him in mid-fight, and he just goes full of adrenaline in that first round. The thing about him, though, he's very talented, very good, very fast, great wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu training out of, I think, Sig Jitsu with Michael Chiesa out in Washington. The dude is a very solid guy. It's just that his biggest downfall is the gas management. He can be a bit sloppy sometimes if he's trying to go for the kill. He's fun to watch. So he's like, I see red, I'm going to take this guy out. If he takes me out, it is what it is. But I think he's just too good sometimes against really good competition, and he's really bad sometimes against competition he should definitely beat. There were some hairy moments against him and that Ghost Pepper fellow. What was his name? What is his name? Eric Gonzalez. Like, Gonzalez cracked him a little bit, which forced him to wrestle, which at that point when he wrestled, he got the rear naked choke. Bonfim, though, like, I was looking to fade this guy from the get-go. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, he's fighting a guy in Terrence McKinney. He has to be pretty damn good. Going back and watching tape on him, he is pretty damn good. He's a very solid fighter. There are things, though, that I question about him because, like, he hasn't fought a guy as physical and strong and good with the wrestling as Terrence McKinney, a guy that can put his lights out if he's, like, not careful. Bonfim, very good boxing. He is always in the right spot. He's got great pressure. If you get tired against this Maheta, he is going to finish you. Like, he hasn't finished a guy in a while, but he has power. He is very clever on the feet. Doesn't take unnecessary risks. Takedown defense is pretty good, but I don't think it's great enough to stop the takedown defense or the takedowns of Terrence McKinney. I think if McKinney focuses his energy on getting the takedown, which I've seen him training and drilling, dude is pretty fucking phenomenal on the mats. I think if he can get Bonfim down, he can finish him. But it's like, am I going to take that shot on McKinney? I'd rather do inside the distance. The fight doesn't go the distance. It's fuck, man. Like, it's one of those fights. Like, if you want to take McKinney, probably take him inside the distance, like by finish. But if you're planning on betting Bonfim, he's at dog odds. Worth a shot, or possibly live bet. If Bonfim gets dropped and he comes back and he survives that first round, he's going to be a pretty big underdog. Might as well take him then. It's a tough one. I am going to go with McKinney on this one just because I really do think if he comes here intelligently and goes to the takedown, shit, that's what's so fucking scary about a guy like McKinney, is that, like, you can doubt the guy and he goes out there and he knocks out Bonfim with a flying knee, or he takes him out with like a straight 1-2 like he did against Frivola, or he takes him down, chokes him out immediately. Like, he can definitely do that. But the other end of that is, like, if he doesn't do that and he gasses out, he's going to be in a world of fucking shit against Bonfim. I'm going to go with McKinney. I do think, based on what I've seen from him training, he can get that takedown. Again, I do think Bonfim is a very good fighter. I think he will be getting UFC wins in the near future. Shit, he might even beat Terrence McKinney. I really do think he has a very good shot of beating McKinney. It's, again, that first round, Terrence McKinney's very fast, and that wrestling is just going to be, I think, too much for a guy like Bonfim. And he hasn't necessarily been fighting, like, as I mentioned, guys with those attributes like McKinney, a very fast, very powerful guy. And I think McKinney does get that takedown and does get like a rear naked choke on him or pounds him out. So I'll go with McKinney round number 1 submission. But again, it's a very close fight for me. I will probably stay away from it right now. I might make a decision later on, but as we speak today, it's like, shit, it's too close for me, man. But I do like what I've seen from the older Bonfim. He is the older one. I think we'll talk about the younger Bonfim in a bit, but let's take a look. What is the next bout? Oh, yeah. This one should be interesting. So, Hailton Almeida taking place at heavyweight. He's fighting his next victim in Shamil Abdurakhimov. He is minus 1,000, this fucking God King of Almeida, against Shamil, who is a plus 650. I'll just say it. Take a shot, maybe, if you want, on Shamil. There is something that is telling me that Hailton Almeida, not to say that he's a fraud, definitely not. He's very fucking good. He's very, very good, but he's taking too many risks going up to heavyweight. Like, I respect it, but Shamil, he's a true heavyweight. He's a more skilled guy than a guy like Parker Porter, who, if you take him down, like, it is what it is. Like, Shamil can at least get up, but I do think Almeida's going to finish him. I think Almeida's going to choke him out. Like, his jiu-jitsu is too good. Biggest concern about this one was the same one I had previously against Parker Porter. If he gets tired, Shamil can really put it on him. He's got power. He can wrestle himself. I've not seen Almeida tired before. His jiu-jitsu is very solid. He usually gets his guys out there immediately. He's handling guys with really good jiu-jitsu like Danilo Marquez. Funny enough, the guy who survived the longest was that last guy, as you see on the screen now, the Pleasure Man. And he was surprising. I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, he's beat this newcomer pretty easily. Or it took him a while to beat this newcomer. But with Shamil, man, $10 on him, why not? But I do think Almeida's going to finish him in the first round. I think he's going to choke him out, rear naked choke. Or if he, like, that's the thing with Almeida. If he feels like pounding you out, he will do it. But I think to be safe, just the way he can take the back, I think he's got a really good shot to submit Shamil in the first round. Just goes for that takedown. Like, even going back and watching tape on Shamil, like, I just wanted to make sure, like, is he going to stuff a takedown and give me trouble if I were to bet Almeida in the first round? I don't know. I really don't think so, because going back and watching the tape with him and Curtis Blades the best wrestler in that division, but he didn't seem to like have proper takedown defense. He just got pushed up against the cage, which is exactly what Almeida does. Pushes you up, takes you down, and I think at that point, if Shamil gives up his back, that's pretty much it for him. So I'll go with Almeida to destroy Shamil in the first round. Oh yeah, I forgot I did that with Bonfim. I found that picture of Gabriel. I'm like, that reminds me of a certain somebody from. Well, if you're a history buff, we've got Gabriel Bonfim versus Munir Lazzez. The odds currently have it in favor of Gabriel Bonfim minus 185. Come back on Munir Lazzez plus 155. Going back and watching tape on Lazzez was honestly disappointing, just because like I know how good he is. I know how incredible of a striker he is, but I had spent like a good 2 hours watching tape on Gabriel Bonfim, and I'm thinking like, is there a chance Munir Lazzez can beat this guy? And I'm like, there are some shots there. Like Gabriel's been cracked a couple times in the past. He's been dropped in one of his last fights in the not PFL, LFA. The biggest difference, what made me disappointed in Munir Lazzez, because I wanted to pick him as a dog. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to go with Bonfim to win this one by decision. But what made me disappointed was just how slow Munir Lazzez was compared to Bonfim. Bonfim is very fast, very good boxing. Like, dude has a ton of submissions on his record. I think he's very comfortable on the feet. I think he has more diversity on the feet, speed plus power plus that diversity with the kicks. But Munir Lazzez is more of a tricky guy. He's more of a one punch. He's a sniper with those punches, like his name suggests. It's just he doesn't throw enough output for me compared to Gabriel Bonfim. Biggest concern is if you are taking Lazzez, I do think there are some opportunities there for him to like catch Gabriel Bonfim mid combination. Gabriel throws more than one punch, and Munir Lazzez, he's a very tricky guy, and I think he can get an up elbow in there or just crack him with something like a jump knee. If say Bonfim is trying to time a takedown, it's just again Lazzez. I think he's just a little too slow for a guy like Bonfim. He's 25 years old. Shit, compared to the 35 years old in Munir Lazzez. If Bonfim was a little shorter, they're both the same height, 6'1", I'd be like, okay, perhaps. But the biggest deterrent here is the reach advantage in Lazzez. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage against Gabriel Bonfim. If he threw more than just that one punch, that setup, I think that would really be beneficial. But Gabriel, again, is very fast, good head movement, boxing background, national champion in boxing. I think he's going to be able to get in there and attack the body of Lazzez. Then that's going to open up the head. And then, not to say he's going to knock him out, but I think he's got a good chance to like set that pace, dictate what's going to happen, and eventually, just lead to a decision. Munir's got a pretty solid chin himself. The only time he got finished was with the body kicks from Alves. If Bonfim targets the body, which it would be wise if he did, he's got a better chance there. Like, not to say that he's got like a glass liver or whatnot, Lazzez, but it's there. Might as well take a shot at it. But I'll go with Bonfim by decision. Again, I'm pretty disappointed. I really wanted to take Lazzez, but after watching tape, it's like, shit, I can't honestly say he's going to win this one. I think out of the two Bonfim brothers, I think they can both lose, but the one who's got more of a chance to lose like outright is going to be Ismail. Gabriel, I think he's got a better chance to win this fight as long as he stays defensively sound. If Munir Lazzez was more of like a dynamic, like I'm going in there throwing multiple strikes at once, and if he was much faster, I think he's got a better shot. But no, I think Munir is too slow for a guy like Gabriel Bonfim on this one. Next bout, we've got Thiago Moises versus Melquizael Costa. That fucking name, man, was a toughie. And as you can tell, the guy has vitiligo, the thing that Michael Jackson had. I don't know if it happens because you molest children. I cannot confirm if Costa is a child molester, but, anyways, Thiago Moises, he is I'm assuming a favorite because it's a short notice bout at lightweight. Minus 300 for Moises. Comeback on Costa is plus 250. So I didn't really tape this one too much. Thiago Moises, I think he's just going to be way better than Costa. Costa is a very good kickboxer. He's got good cardio. He doesn't necessarily possess the type of takedown defense. Like that's primarily the one thing that I taped for his takedown defense. He didn't seem to have it. He didn't seem to have that kind of, I guess, resistance against the cage because Moises, one thing I've kind of been hammering in my head is like this guy needs to start using his jiu-jitsu more. He's been more of like a striker lately. Like he's had more success as a jiu-jitsu fighter than a striker in the UFC, and it showed really well in his last fight against Christos Giagos. Took the back, got him submitted with a single arm under the neck, a rear naked choke with just one arm. Didn't have the whole like figure four, the mataleon, if you will. Just had the one arm. And I'm like, damn, dude, like more of that shit, please. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to take him down and submit him. I mean, Costa, his best chance is to try to finish Thiago Moises early. He's got very solid Muay Thai. The guy is very, very good with the hands too. Like he's pretty quick. It's just again, to me, this guy, looking at his record, although he has good quality, he's just not ready for a guy like Thiago Moises coming in on short notice. I think, I thought of something kind of fucked up about, fuck it. Thiago Moises is going to leave a Costa stain on the ground because his skin is stained. But I'll go with Thiago Moises by a second round submission. I think the first round might be tough. Costa, he's a dynamic cat. I think he can survive the first, but I'll go with second round submission by Moises. Or, Thiago Moises. Next bout, we've got middleweight Gregory Rodrigues, RoboCop versus Bruno Ferreira, the Hulk. This one's crazy, man. A minus 330 for Rodrigues comeback on Bruno Ferreira plus 270. With Gregory Rodrigues, I think he's been proving himself more and more in the UFC that this guy is absolutely tough. Like you go back and you see this guy getting knocked out by, what was this dude's name? Jordan Williams was his name? The type 2 diabetes, the guy, Scott Malcolmson, I've got diabetes. Is that him? It's like, I forget the dude's name. Yep, Jordan Williams knocked him out in the Contender Series. You see that kind of stuff and you're like, the first moment I see this guy with a good strike or a guy with heavy hands, I'm fading him. And the guy's taking shots very well. Like whatever he's been doing, he's been eating his acai berries, but his chin has been holding up very well, knocking dudes out. The guy is a fan favorite, man. The last fight with him and that Nigerian smoke demon, Chidi Njikawani, I was like, stop the fight. Stop the fucking fight. His fucking face is falling off. The dude, he ruined my parlay. He ruined my straight money line bet on Chidi, and you can't be mad at him. Like the dude's face was falling off, half of his eyebrows were gone, and he comes out there and he finishes him. And that's the kind of guy that like you really can hang your hat on when you're thinking of like fighters that you want to bet. The only problem is he's fighting a guy who is very explosive in Bruno Ferreira, the Hulk. Dude hits hard. The dude hits really hard. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and judo. He cuts distance very quickly. Although he's going to be the shorter guy, he's 5'10" compared to the 6'3" in Gregory Rodrigues. I am worried that if he lands an overhand right on Gregory, that's going to really spell the downfall of that mythical chin of the UFC RoboCop chin. And realistically, Rodrigues should win this fight by really any way he wants. He can take him to the ground. I think he's going to have the better jiu-jitsu. It's just that the Hulk is really strong. And I do worry that he'll catch him early. He'll just go out there and try to finish him early. And Rodrigues, he got cracked by Julian Marquez. That's something that should have never have happened. Period. Like, granted, he knocked out Marquez like moments after, but if Bruno lands on him, I am worried he's going to finish him. To me, taking the under on this one, like maybe under 1.5 might be the good option, or just straight inside the distance. But to me, I have to pick Rodrigues just because he's more established. Even if, say, he does get cracked, and I do have a ticket on Ferreira, this is the type of guy that's like, no, I'm not getting knocked out in Brazil. And he'll get back, his eyes popped out of his socket and he still somehow wins. The doctors let it go because Brazilian doctors don't give a fuck. I'll go with Rodrigues. going to say second round submission. I do think that Bruno will slow down. Oh man, I'm pretty sure this was a short notice, right? Yeah, it was Brad Tavares. Because it's short notice, I'm not expecting Bruno to be in the best physical condition to go 3 rounds with a guy like Gregory Rodrigues, RoboCop. And I guess it's a comic book fight. We got RoboCop versus the Hulk. I got my money on the guy who has guns, so I'll go with RoboCop by second round submission. It's gonna be fucking fun though. Next bout, ooh, daddy, this one's bad. We've got the prelim main event, the final fight of Mauricio Shogun Hua. He's fighting Ihor Potieria. Minus 200 for Potieria. Come back on Shogun is a plus 170. Like, really going back. Potieria sucks, but he's got some good qualities. He's fast. He's young. He hits hard. He's a southpaw. He's going to be fighting a very old, he's 41 years old, Mauricio Shogun Hua. Shogun's not the same fighter that he was. Like, you want him to go out on a win. This is his final fight. He's fighting at home. He does have a shot to beat Potieria, right? Like, he's a very crafty guy, but he's not going to survive against Potieria. I'm going to go with Potieria to finish him in the first round. It's going to be really, really, really sucky, right? You're going to hear the silent crowd as Shogun's getting like a light shown on his eyes, and he's getting walked to the back as he's crying and leaves his gloves on the ground. I mean, Ihor, it should not have been Ihor. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Like, were they thinking, like, yeah, Ihor sucks enough? Fucking train. Ihor sucks enough that Shogun, who is a shell of himself, can potentially beat him somehow. Like, maybe he counters him because, like, Ihor, for his faults, like, I knew he was going to lose against Negumereanu. It's just that he's not as bad. He's not that bad to lose to the shell of Mauricio Shogun, who like he looked really bad against OSP in his last fight. And a guy like Potieria, who's very fast, very young, very hungry, much taller. I think he goes in there and he lands something flush on Shogun, puts him out cold. Like, even in the fight against Negumereanu, despite losing that first round, like, I'll give it to Potieria. He didn't look like out of it. He was tired, and he even cracked Negumereanu like mid-exchange. And I think that if that was Mauricio Shogun Hua, he would have knocked him out. And I would even take Negumereanu to finish Shogun. But at this point, unfortunately, I have to fade Shogun. I just don't think he has it anymore. And I think he should have retired a long time ago in his last win, which was, what was his last win? Nogueira. Ooh, that would have been perfect too. But he decided, hey, I want to get TKO'd by Paul Craig, and I want the OSP to beat my ass. So I'll go with Potieria by a first-round knockout. And we've got the main card opener. We've got Paul Craig himself, the Shogun Killer himself, against Johnny Walker. Funny enough, Johnny Walker, I've been buying those UFC, like, optic cards, the UFC Panini cards. I got a Johnny Walker signature card, and I was like looking at it. I was like, oh, sweet, Johnny Walker. And I look at his signature, and it's just a JW. I'm like, did this motherfucker just sign his initials? Did he forget how to read and write by getting knocked out that many times? Can he not remember how to sign his name? That's my guess. I went on eBay, and I'm like, is that his signature? I just want to check. Fucker's been writing his name all properly, like Johnny Walker, and all I get is a JW. I'm like, you piece of shit. I got Johnny Walker first round knockout. Paul Craig, the dude has a really good shot to knock out Johnny Walker if he decides to have faith in his hands. He has to walk through fire to fight a guy like Johnny Walker. Johnny's very dynamic, hits really damn hard. He's getting better. His confidence is getting back to where it needed to be, right? He's been knocked out multiple times. He's lost many fights, but the guy's a physical specimen. Got a hog like no other too, man. Poor Irish woman doesn't know what she got into. But he's minus 170. Comeback on Paul Craig is a plus 145. Paul Craig, man, this is not the fight for him. Like, you would think his style would benefit him here against Johnny Walker. Like, hey, take it to the ground, take him down. Johnny Walker's too damn physical. He's 6'6", man. 6'6" compared to the 6'3". Paul Craig, to have to get in close to try to take him down, or even to like get the overhook, like a strong overhook, like the way he got it on Jamahal Hill, and drag him down to the ground. I think if you purposely put yourself on the ground with Johnny Walker, the dude is just so goofy when it comes to how hard he hits and his ground and pound. If he hits you with just the slightest hammer fist, like just enough. I think he's going to knock out Paul Craig. Yeah, this fight will not go the distance at all. Like if it does, Jesus Christ, it's going to ruin my day. But I do think Johnny Walker, he's going to finish Paul Craig. He's going to finish him brutally. Like, yes, Paul Craig has really improved in his striking. And what really bummed me out against him and Volkan Oezdemir was that when Paul Craig was striking and he was like, I have to strike to set up my takedowns, which was his mentality. You saw it in his face. He was doing really well on the feet. He was actually landing against Oezdemir, and I'm like, oh shit, like this could be the turning tide because I had money on Paul Craig. And then he decides to shoot a shitty takedown, a takedown that he couldn't get in the beginning of the fight. Like he was just too much of a tank to get taken down that night. It's like the dude would not strike. He didn't feel comfortable. And he's not going to feel comfortable when that first hard leg kick hits him by Johnny Walker. I think he's going to make a goofy mistake and he's going to get finished. I think at this point, like the Paul Craig fun submission train is over. Like the guy, he had a really good run, right? He's going to say that like, hey, I fought the title challenger and I beat him. But at this point, Johnny Walker, like we all know Johnny Walker's issues, right? Like he's super chinny, makes stupid ass mistakes. Paul Craig, though, very similar in the way that they're both really chinny, honestly. But yeah, if Johnny Walker connects, I think he finishes him with that reach advantage. 82 inches for reach compared to 76. Johnny's going to land something. Like he's not going to give Paul Craig a chance to try to shoot on him. If he does, I think he gets a flying knee. Worst comes to worst, the only way I think Paul Craig wins this fight, other than like somehow getting a Hail Mary submission, is if Johnny Walker gets disqualified for like soccer kicking him in the crowd. But I'll go with Johnny Walker by really devastating knockout in the first round. Next bout. Ooh, baby, I forgot I had that picture of Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade taking on Lucky Lauren Murphy. Minus 460 for Andrade. Come back on Lauren Murphy is a plus 370. The only way Lauren Murphy wins this fight is by just controlling Jessica Andrade against the cage, getting takedowns, and point fighting. It's going to be really tough to do that against Jessica Andrade, a powerhouse. She hits hard. I mean, yes, this is at flyweight, but the power goes up at flyweight for Jessica Andrade. The way she handled blonde fighter Caitlin Chukagian, just popping her in the belly, and she's just like, "Oop, that's it for me. Better go back online and like black porn." But with Lucky Lauren Murphy, she's 39 years old, and give her credit where credit is due. She has definitely improved over the years, right? Like she was a nobody, and then she made it all the way to a title. It's pretty fucking impressive. Like I met the lady, she was eager to meet the fans, and to be honest, people were disrespecting her, right? Even I did, and I still kind of feel bad about it. But with Lauren Murphy, she is a very limited fighter. She doesn't have that type of power, that game-changing power. She's very meat and potatoes when it comes to that rinse and repeat, clinch, takedown, striking. That's it. Like her striking's gotten better, but she's not going to want to strike with Jessica Andrade. The moment she pops her with a clean right hand, she's going to start diving for legs. And at that point, Jessica Andrade will try to pick her up and powerbomb her ass. Yeah, I'll go with Andrade to finish her. I'm going to say in the second round, TKO. She's going to put those hands on her, and Lauren Murphy is not going to like it. And I think it's going to get stopped early. That's really it. Yeah, Lauren's taller. She's going to have a reach advantage, but I just think that the power is just going to be too much for Lauren Murphy. And I'll go with Jessica Andrade, TKO round number 2. Next bout, Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny, welterweight. This is the highlighted fight, the one before the dual main event with the title fights. But we have Durinho Burns versus Haitian sensation Neil Magny. Magny plus 230. I'm sorry, plus 320. Come back on Burns minus 410. These odds, if you've noticed, like they're not all that great. I do think Burns after that last fight, I don't know if he's going to have that same motivation, right? Like he gave it his all. He left a little bit of himself against Khamzat Chimaev. And it's just, it's difficult to go that hard and think that you want to fight only to lose that fight and then having to rinse and repeat and go back and say, like, I got to start this shit all over again. Like, he went hard on his training camp. He had a very difficult strength and conditioning training to fight Khamzat Chimaev. It was like when you're at the brink of death, you'll still have enough gas tank to keep fighting, and it showed, right? Like, he got dropped, he came back, he really put a really good accord of himself. He put on a fight of the night or fight of the year contender. As for Neil Magny, the issue with him, like, yeah, he's very long, 6'3", great reach, good at using that reach and maintaining a decent enough distance. And then when he needs to, he will clinch you up. He's just a very good point fighter, and that's why he has the most welterweight wins in the UFC. At least either that or he might have tied. But the guy, he puts in his work. He doesn't quit. And there's something to really respect and admire that about Neil Magny. Like, he's beaten some guys that realistically he shouldn't have beaten. Like, he beat Jeff Neal. He beat just recently Daniel Rodriguez, which a lot of people had no idea, no inkling that he would finish him with a Darce choke at all. Like, I picked Magny to win. I just didn't think he was going to finish him. I was surprised. But when I look at this matchup, I think about Neil Magny versus Rafael Dos Anjos. I didn't think Dos Anjos was going to have success against Neil Magny. And then he leg kicked him hard enough, got him to the ground, and choked him out. Gilbert Burns, a former lightweight, also Brazilian, also has very good jiu-jitsu, very good low kicks. Yes, the chin isn't really there, which is a big concern that if Magny lands something, although he's kind of a pillow-fisted fellow himself, that he'll drop down and maybe Magny finishes him. To me, though, that power advantage going to Gilbert Burns, he does have very hard low kicks. He can swing up top with those hammers, with overhands, and that jiu-jitsu. I think that if he follows a similar game plan to Dos Anjos and Ponzinibbio, just attack the legs and then just pressure the man, I think he's going to crumble. Magny has not looked the same himself in a while, right? Like, he's been kind of what's the word I'm trying to use? Kind of drowning in the middleweight division. He has some performances where he looks okay and he cashes you some money. Then he has performances that make you wonder if he actually won the fight. Like, he had a really close fight with Max Griffin. He got finished by Rachmanov, and then crazy enough, he got a Darce choke against Daniel Rodriguez. I'm like, damn, like, I don't know what to make of this guy. He's 35 years old. He's a damn good fighter, very good pace. It's just, again, that firepower coming from Gilbert Burns is going to be the factor. My biggest concern, though, with like betting Gilbert Burns is that motivation. Like, he is going to be fighting at home in Brazil. He's going to want to finish. He's going to want to put on a show. But is he going to be mentally there? I mean, any day of the week, I do think that Neil Magny is a very good play to win by a decision. I just, again, being in Brazil, I don't think that's going to favor him. He's going to have to do a lot of undeniable shit. Like, he's going to have to hold Gilbert down. He's going to have to land a lot of strikes on him. If Gilbert, I think if he lands a very solid connection on either a leg kick or a punch to the face, I think that's going to definitely sway these Brazilian judges in his favor. So I don't know if Neil's going to have the output in this particular fight to win a decision in Brazil. He's going to have to finish Gilbert. And if he does try to, say, finish Gilbert, I think that'll be prime for Gilbert to duck under, go for a takedown, and just muscle him down, take his back, or at least control him, posture up, and try to do something, right? I think the moment it hits the ground, Neil Magny is going to be in a real world of trouble. And Gilbert Burns, although he hasn't gotten a submission in a while, I think he's got a really good chance here to finish Neil Magny by I'm going to say not a rear naked choke, but I think he sets up an arm triangle just like Dos Anjos, and he gets him in the second round. Next bout, we've got Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno for the love of God, this has to stop. Deiveson Figueiredo coming in here as the champion. He's 35 years old compared to Brandon Moreno, 29 years old. Dead even pick'em odds, -110, -110. I am so bad at picking these fights. It is absolutely ridiculous. I've had not one of these fights have I picked correctly. I had Deiveson to win the first one, went to a draw. The second fight, I had Deiveson to win. Moreno wins that one. Third fight, I had Moreno to win. Deiveson wins that one by decision. Brandon is he's an anomaly right now, right? Like he's been looking worse since he moved to James Krause's gym. Yes, like he has a better fight IQ in my opinion. It's just that I don't know what the fuck they did to the boy. I don't know if James Krause is like, hey, get worse as a fighter so we can make some money. I don't know. He Brandon's out here saying like, "Hey, free my coach." I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not one to judge until all the evidence is out. But it's like, fuck. Anyways, though, the reason I bring that up is because Brandon, like in his last fight with Kai Kara, he was getting busted up, and I didn't like what I was seeing. Like, dude, yes, Kai Kara is a very good kickboxer, but you should not be getting touched up that hard when Davison wasn't even able to land on you that hard. Like, yeah, he had a good moment in I think the third round where he dropped him, but other than that, it was mostly Moreno doing a lot of the damage to Figueiredo's face. Like he was actually rocking him a little bit. But with Davison, again, like he looks kind of crappy, and he still won that fight. Like he looked good in the sense of like in that third fight where he looked more composed. His gas tank was there, and it really changed my opinion on him as a fighter, that he can follow a very good game plan, especially with a guy like Moreno. In the past, he just went out there and fought, and it was easy for him because he was just getting finishes all the time. He really didn't have that kind of mentality of like, I have to follow a game plan, I have to do this. I think Henry Cejudo was very instrumental in that. I don't think he's in his corner this time around. I think he's mostly been in Brazil with his own team. So I don't know how he's going to come out in this fight. What I do know is that Brandon was getting the better of the striking exchanges overall. Like, I think if Brandon really decides to go out there and just have a boxing oriented mentality, like, hey, let's put hands on him, let's try to hurt him, because every time Moreno would land, you would just see the power difference surprisingly, because when Brandon got hit, it didn't seem to bother him. Maybe he got a little swollen in the eyes and whatnot, but when Brandon landed on Figueiredo, it was like, oh shit, like he's actually dazing him. He's 35 years old, man. This weight cut isn't getting easier for the man. To me, it's like I have to go with Brandon Moreno to win this fight because he's got more of a chance to get a finish either on the ground or striking wise. I think he can definitely knock out Moreno. I'm sorry, he can knock out Figueiredo. Or if he doesn't knock him out, knock him down, Brandon takes his back or does something. Like once it hit that ground in that second fight, it was like, holy shit, I can't believe he submitted Davison Figueiredo. But again, when I keep mentioning these judges, man, Davison just has to do enough, and I think they will give him the rounds. He has the champion advantage. He has the belt. They're not going to try to steal a Brazilian's belt in Brazil against the Mexican with that whole rivalry with soccer and shit. But it's fuck. I just want it to be the final fight. I am tired of these fights. I just want new blood. And between both these guys, the only one who's fought new blood has been Brandon Moreno, and he landed a beautiful body kick that finished Kai Kara France. It's just again like I don't know if I like what I've seen from him recently. Like I think he's been training out of Fortis since the whole James Krause shit happened. So I'm looking to see a brand new Brandon Moreno against Davison Figueiredo. So I'm going to take Brandon by third round TKO. I do think those first two rounds are going to be very close, maybe 1-1. In that third round, it's going to be like, hey, something has to happen. Somebody's gas tank has to fail. And I think if Brandon attacks the body with those left body kicks that he landed on Kai Kara France, he's going to sap that energy. I think in the first few fights, it was mostly the boxing that they were doing. Brandon has to push a pace. He has to go for his own takedowns, tire out Davison. And I do think at this point, like, I think that gas tank is going to fail Davison in this fight. Again, it's a very close fight. I've been wrong every fucking time before. I'm going to take a shot on Brandon again, just because every time I pick the opposite, the opposite happens. I'm going to stick with Brandon to win this one. And new UFC flyweight champion Brandon Moreno. And then I think at this point, either Davison retires or he moves up to 135, because that 125 cut, like, he looks good. It's just how much longer can he do it? I don't think it's much longer. Next bout, main event of the evening, UFC gold on the line. For the vacant light heavyweight championship, we've got the former champion Glover Teixeira versus Sweet Dreams Jamahal Hill. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Jamahal Hill minus 125. Come back on Teixeira plus 105. 43 years old. Can the man do it again? That is what we're interested in seeing. 1 second. Glover Teixeira, every fucking time I count him out, he does something spectacular. I counted him out against John Blahovic. Submits the man. Ruins my vacation when I was in Orlando. I'm like, motherfucker. Like, fucking asshole, my money. Fuck. Glover. Had to cut all that train noise out. But yeah, Glover Teixeira, even with his fight against Jiri, I'm like, Jiri's going to knock him out in the first round. Goes out there, takes him down, nearly finishes him, gets him out. I'm like, the dude is just, he has so much left in him, but does he? Like at those times, I'm like, damn, he still has it, man. He's still showing a lot of heart. He's taking punches. Yeah, he got rocked a ton, but how much more does he have in him, right? Like he has almost like a reserve amount of energy and youth, and I feel like he is living on borrowed time. But again, he is so damn undeniable sometimes. Like he goes out there, he's a much more well-rounded fighter between the two. Jamahal Hill, of course, fantastic hands. We don't see often his jiu-jitsu, but last time we saw a little bit of the ground game where he was like, I'm going to play with Paul Craig a little bit on the ground. We saw what happened. He got TKO'd because it was not officially a submission. He did not tap. His arm broke. Officially TKO, not a submission. So he's never been submitted. Remember that. But yeah, Jamahal Hill, excellent boxing. He's a southpaw. The dude is very dynamic. And as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, he did get this based off of just the right circumstances, right? He didn't necessarily earn it in my eyes, but that doesn't fucking matter. He's here and he's fighting Glover. It is like he's fighting the champion. Let's just consider Glover the champion here because he is going to be fighting in Brazil. He's going to have that championship and hometown advantage. With Jamahal Hill, his best shot to win this fight, as we know, he's going to have to knock out Glover Teixeira. There's a lot of doubt in certain people's minds, like, can he do it? Because last time we saw Jamahal Hill, he was getting grapple fucked by Thiago Santos. And I was like, ooh, man. And that was in my head throughout the entire time the line came out. I'm like, oh, shit, I can get Glover Teixeira at like dog odds. And I think when I looked at it originally a few weeks ago, it was like plus 125. I'm like, damn. If Glover can take him down, he can get a submission on him, and then that'll be it. Like, I'll have my cash out money. Then I start realizing like Glover's not really a submission guy. Yes, he is, but what I mean by that is like he's been going for ground and pound lately. Like he did it a lot with Jiri. He was going for the ground and pound, trying to set up the submission, and Jiri was able to survive, escape. And we had a 5-round war, and he got submitted at the end, Glover, that is. Jamahal Hill was getting ragdolled a little bit by Thiago Santos. And I'm like, ooh, that's not a good look. If Glover does that to him, like, he could still win, right? Like, Glover has that 5-round cardio. Jamahal Hill was slowing down. There's a chance that Glover can win this one. And I'm like, no, not really. Jamahal Hill, yes, I think we all kind of thought Thiago Santos was going to shoot on him. But when it happened, it was like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe he actually shot on him. That's how much Thiago Santos respected the power in the hands of Jamahal Hill, that he was like, I got to wrestle for my fucking life, man. And he was winning that fight up until he got finished. I think on 2 of the scorecards, he was up 2-1. And then one of the scorecards, it was Jamahal Hill up 2-1. And then the finish happened. Jamahal Hill, though, he did show a lot of heart in that fight. Like he was getting out grappled at one point. But again, it was like unexpected. At this point in a camp where Glover, yes, he has heavy hands. Glover, yes, he has the takedowns. He's got the grappling. Jamahal Hill, I think he's unfortunately going to really finish off the scraps that is Glover Teixeira. I think he's going to finish him in the first round. I think Glover, if he shoots in for a takedown, he's going to get caught with a knee up the middle. He's going to get blasted with knees to the body. Jamahal Hill is going to be too fast for him. And we're going to see a new light heavyweight champion by the name of Jamahal Hill, which is crazy because I never in my fucking dreams would have thought we'd have a guy named Jamal with too many syllables in his name or too many letters in his name. Why is there a random H in there? Anyways, Jamahal Hill, Sweet Dreams, I have him to win first round knockout against Glover Teixeira. But part of me, if we're being honest, kind of wishes that I'm wrong because I do want to see Glover win the title and then just kind of just wait it out until Jiri comes back and we'll have an epic rematch. And then we'll crown Jiri back as champion officially and he'll get the knockout that he deserved in the first round. But I do have Jamahal Hill. I will be placing a bet on him. I don't know how much I'm going to be placing on him. If I can still get him at minus 125, minus 130, I'll probably put. I'm really debating either 2.5 units or up to 5 units on him because that's how confident I feel in Jamahal Hill. It's really if Jamal gets taken down, I think he can survive against Teixeira. He is a much stronger, much younger, much faster, much longer guy, much blacker, and we're gonna see a new champion, Jamahal Hill. And yeah, it's gonna suck. I really hope Glover doesn't retire. But again, man, wouldn't it be beautiful if he does win the belt, he defeats Jamahal Hill, and then he fucking retires? Like, I've done it. I don't need to prove anything else. That would be an epic performance by Glover. I would love it. Like, yes, because yeah, he can't keep going any longer, man. Like, he's 43. I just don't think with those beatings he took, those punches that he took from Jiri, I just don't think his chin's going to be able to hang with the guy like Jamahal Hill. He hits hard, but he hits hard in a certain way where it's precision, speed, and it's just like you don't feel it, you don't see it coming. All you feel is the light in your eyes when the doctor's shining on him. So again, Jamahal Hill, as much as I kind of don't like Jamal, and not for the reasons that you think, not because of the whole like Twitter bullshit where it's like, oh, you slap me, I slap you back kind of shit. Mostly because he's the kind of guy that's like, you can't criticize a motherfucker because he'll be like, well, show up to the gym then. I'm like, dude, I just said that shirt doesn't match your pants. I'm like, I don't need to fucking fight you. Like that, it kind of bums me out that way. Like the dude's a little like sensitive, but yeah, like new champion Jamahal Hill. But yeah, those have been my predictions for UFC 283, Teixeira versus Hill. Let me know what you think. If you thought anything I said was fucking stupid, leave a comment. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that Twitter garbage. I would appreciate if you either follow me on Twitter, where you can just talk shit to me, communicate with me. I'll probably post some bets there. Go out of your way and join the Discord. I prefer that over Twitter or anything. Like, you get to talk to me directly. I'm always there. Get to meet some new people. There's some great guys there. Some assholes. You know who you are. But yeah, definitely join the Discord if you can. Again, Johnny from Tiger Bomb MMA. Links below if you want to do any of that shit. Yeah, interested in seeing what this year brings. And hopefully everyone's bets cash. And Jamahal Hill, first round knockout.